to be astonished.
That's right. 9:30 or close enough signifies the return of the Marty Monologues with Marty Wombacher of the wildly popular blog, Meanwhile Back in Peoria.com. Check it out. While you're listening to us talk, go to meanwhilebackinpeoria.com. Read that shit. See what Marty posted today or yesterday. We'll see what Marty's got going on tonight. Never know what you don't get.
Hello.
Marty, it's Perm and Vic. What's cracking, Daddy-O?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
We are sitting here having a fucking ball, talking shit, and figured we'd give you a call and see what you got going on.
Yeah, I've been listening to the show. It's been a good show tonight. I just heard your things you could do, if you wouldn't get arrested or be reprimanded.
Right.
You know what I would do?
No clue. Marty, I have no idea.
No idea.
I would take a pair of pliers and rip the fucking vocal cords out of the Oak Ridge Boys' throats, so I'd never have to hear that goddamn song Elvira again. I hate that song. I mean, when I was growing up, I'm older than you guys, so I remember that when it was on Top 40, and you'd hear it, then be like, fuck, that's going to be in my head all day today. I can't stand those guys.
Now it's going to be in your head all night, Marty. We've done fuck you.
Oh, I know. Thanks for that.
So what do you got for us tonight, man?
Hey, I got a couple things I'd like to talk about, and if it runs too long, you got Justin Gaw coming on at 10, right?
Right.
Yes, sir. So we got a half an hour.
Yeah, well, Justin's a friend of mine, and I really like some of the stuff he's done lately. I mean, the one thing about Justin is he's not only a good writer, but he's got a lot of balls, which helps you be a good writer. He's not afraid to go in places, and he was one of the first ones to get in his car and drive to Ferguson, and I thought that was genius when he did it. But the thing I kind of want to talk about, maybe you can bring this up to him, because he's a lot more knowledgeable on that whole subject than I or any of us probably are. I was listening to the radio today, the Robbins and Markley show was a repeat, and they were talking about Ferguson, and here's where I just see things going wrong when you talk about that whole, what all went wrong down there, is that it starts going off in so many tangents now, because they're talking about, the lootings and the burning, and like on the Robbins and Markley show, and I like those, I love their show, but it's like they're talking more about Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, and they can't understand what Jesse Jackson's saying, and it goes off into all these tangents, and it pisses me off that nobody just addresses the thing that really caused the thing to go wrong, and to me, it was a cop shooting the kid 6 times.
Marty, when it first happened, and my first instant reaction was, why the hell did he have to shoot him so many times?
6 times. Well, see, here's the thing I would like. I would like it if you'd ask Justin this, because it's something that I was thinking about today. Just let's say the worst case scenario as far as Michael Brown happened. Okay, I've heard Darren Wilson's side of it, and it's they always say there's three sides to every story: his side, the other guy's side, and the truth. Well, of course, he's going to clean up his side of it. I mean, anybody would. So his side's a little homogenized. You can't hear, the kid's side because he's dead. But let's just say the worst case scenario, which I believe, if I'm wrong, correct me, because maybe I got something mixed up. But the kid went into a convenience store, took a box of cigars. I think they were worth like $30. Pushed some guy down, and they just went out of there. Then they're walking in the middle of the road. Cop pulls up, says, you guys can't walk in the middle of the road. They refuse to get away. Then he ends up, hitting the cop in the head. The cop pulls a gun out, hits him in the thumb, I heard. The kid runs. The cop radios for help. Then he gets out of the car, and supposedly, and this was his testimony, the kid turns around then, and there's varied responses on this. Some people say he put his hands up. The cop says that he was, I think he said one hand was in a fist, the other was going into the waistband or whatever pants this kid was wearing. And that's when he shot him 6 times, because he thought he was going to pull a gun out. My whole argument to this, and other times when people have been multiple shot by cops, Why didn't he just, he's standing there, I don't think they were that far away. He's a cop. He's got to be pretty good with a gun. He only got hit once in the face, which, left no mark. Why didn't he just shoot him in, the right thigh?
And I asked myself that same question, or I asked that same question when it first happened. And my opinion on it has changed a bit. And it all boils down to the heat of the moment and when it happens. And I've never been in that position. I've never had my life threatened. So I can't say how I would react. I guess I could say I'd react this way, but until it actually happened, I don't know. And so if the officer's testimony is to be believed, that Brown, and him were struggling in the car, and that he reached for the weapon, if I'm thinking, man, this guy's already tried to grab my gun once, and here he is coming at me again, I'm dropping him. It would be a different scenario if indeed the kid had pulled out a gun. Then shoot him 6 times, because I don't want to die. But the kid hadn't pulled a gun out yet, and this is the trained police officer. He's not you or I. They're supposed to react, and this is where all this shit. This is to me where it all stems from. People getting pissed off that no charges were dealt to this guy because he's not your eye. He's a cop. They're supposed to react differently. They're trained to. They're paid to. And I'm not anti-cop or anything, but he should have shot him in the leg. The kid would have gone down. And then if he didn't go down and he pulls out a gun, shoot him till he's dead.
Well, whenever you pull that gun, Marty, I could be mistaken. I'm not always right, even though I've only been wrong twice this year. But whenever you pull that gun and you have to pull the trigger, you are trained to shoot to kill. You're not trained to shoot to wound, whether you're a police officer, you're a soldier, because that's not what you do. If you have to pull that gun and you have to use it, you are taught to shoot to kill. You're either defending someone or you're defending yourself, and you're taught to shoot to kill. You never shoot to wound, because if you wound them, they still have a chance to kill you or someone else that's in the vicinity.
See, I can understand that, and I don't know if that's totally the way they're trained. I would think that would be the case if a gun is pulled out. This kid didn't have a gun.
Well, going back to that, once you pull that gun, that's, you either put it back or you shoot to kill. There are no other options. That's about the only 2 options there are. That free that work on a lot of situations.
You're saying, and I don't know this, maybe you do. You're saying that a police officer is trained that when you pull a gun on someone, you have to try and kill him.
That's why you have so many non-lethal, things you can go to, whether it be mace or it would be, beanbag guns. Whenever you don't have that option, you use those things that are supposed to not to kill people. But if you pull your sidearm, that you are trained to shoot to kill. Otherwise, what's the point,
Well, the point in this case would be to drop the kid to the ground. If the kid has a gun, he's going to pull it out then.
And that's why you shoot to kill. That's why you shoot to kill. In case he does have a gun, he'll have no chance of pulling and killing anybody.
Well, see, it wasn't like they were in a. It wasn't like they were in a crowd of people. It was just him and the kid. To me, I just find it hard. I find it hard to believe that police are trained to pull their gun and automatically kill people.
Well, that you could say, surrender, throw your hands up, whatever, if that works. Like I said, I could be wrong. They could have alternatives that they're in their protocol to go to, but like Perm said, in the heat of the situation, who knows if it skips over A, B, and C, and D, and it goes straight from A to D. So who knows?
Yeah, I just don't think it's right. I just think the cop fucked up. I don't, and like I say, if that's the way they're trained, then that's a fucked up way to train a police officer. Is to without any.
And I think that's one of the underlying issues that people aren't talking about is the police culture and how they're trained, but also what's the word I'm looking for? The code of silence and the corruption that exists within police departments. Because you've got this instance that happened. And as you had mentioned, Wilson's testimony and his story seems rather homogenized and cleaned up.
Yeah.
And I'm of the firm belief that cops, even if they do wrong, they will rally and support their brothers and help, even if it's in the wrong. And that's possibly what's happened here.
Well, and it's not even cops. I mean, this has gone on for years. And I remember this, again, you guys were younger, but when, do you remember, if you've read about when, those kids at Kent State got killed in, I think it was 71?
Oh, yeah.
Right, during the Democratic Convention, right?
Well, actually, it was just, I don't know if that's when it was. I mean, it was on their college campus.
The National Guard came in. Neil Young made a song about it.
Yeah, National Guard came in, and their side of it is, and they were in full riot gear. You can see what they say happened is it was a demonstration, Vietnam War demonstration. The kids were told not to have it. I think, again, you'd have to go back and read it, but there was a reason they called the Guard it, but there was no violence as of yet. The National Guard said they opened fire on these kids. None of the kids had guns because some of them threw rocks at them. And they killed 4 kids. I think 2 others got paralyzed. 2 of the kids that got killed weren't even involved with the protests. They were just walking across the campus. Those National Guardsmen got nothing filed against them. They had no charges. To this day, I think their families are trying to do shit about it, but they can't. So it's just like, to me, I don't know. If I'm going to look into this, because if that is the way a police officer is trained, that like once you pull your gun out, you have to kill the person you're pulling it on, that's really fucked up. Because to me, it's like, if you don't know for certain, I mean, it's one thing, you see a guy shoot somebody at the mall, and you're a cop. Well, yeah, you can lay that guy down before he kills another person. But if it's a kid that's just hit you in the face and stolen a box of cigars, the most that kid should have had happen to him is maybe go to jail for a couple months and think about what he did. That's the worst.
Let me rephrase it a little bit, Marty. Not to kill someone when you automatically pull your gun. I'm not saying that's when the killing starts. I'm saying that when you're in shooting, when you're told to stop someone, you're told it's the ultimate stop. You stop them for good. Like I said, you get rid of the threat to yourself and other people, that are around. Yes, you pull your gun. There's things you can do to not pull the trigger. But once you do pull the trigger, you shoot to kill. You shoot for the biggest mass on the person, and that happens to be between, the knees or the thighs and the neck. And like I said, what's the point though if you're not going to do that? That's
here's what the point is. The point would be if you would have shot him in the right thigh, the kid would have gone down. I mean, don't tell me he wouldn't. And then here's the point: is that then they would have gone over and seen the kid didn't have a gun. He wasn't going to kill anybody. And then what happens is he goes to the hospital. He gets charged with theft and for attacking a police officer. He gets into trouble, and it never would have made the national news, and there wouldn't have been one single building burned down in Ferguson. So that's the big difference.
Yeah, I don't like the situation in general. I think that, there's been people always killed, under these kind of circumstances where one person without a gun was shot 6 fucking times. That is not right. That is just bullshit. But we're talking about, the actual training, and it's, that's something different than the actual crime. You know what I'm saying? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It blows my mind if that is true, that if a cop is taught that if you pull your gun, you should try and kill the other guy. To me, that blows my mind. Like I say, unless the guy actually has a gun pointed at you, then you lay him to waste. But if it's like that kid that got, I think, shot 44 times in New York a few years ago. And it was cops that thought he had raped someone. Well, it wasn't. The kid was completely innocent, and he was scared, and he put his hand in his jacket. They shot him 44 times, like 7 cops. And when they went and got him, of course he's dead. Inside his jacket was his cell phone. He was scared, and he was trying to call somebody. So, those are just 2 glistening examples of where, you mow somebody down. There's an old skit on Saturday Night Live. I think it was Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray, and I forget what it was. But it was something about 2 cops, and they would it's weird how it came true, but the joke of the thing was they would just shoot somebody 20 times, and then they'd yell, freeze. That's kind of what's happened here.
Well, Marty, as you guys have been talking, I did a little Google and I ran across a website. It's called Police Firearms Officers Association, PFOA, and it was shooting to wound was the topic here, and it says why shooting to wound doesn't make sense scientifically, legally, or tactically. Force science restates its case in light of this no-kill bill. In New York, they had a no-kill bill that was brought forth, and police representatives, departments, officers, everybody was in a big uproar about this.
Right.
And shooting to wound, and especially in certain situations where you either think they're armed or they are armed, it's almost impractical.
Why?
Because that threat isn't necessarily removed. And unfortunately, in this situation, Michael Brown was not armed, and that's the funny thing is that nobody seems to be screaming up and down, going, "Hey, look, no gun was found around Brown. What the hell's wrong with Wilson's story?" That's where I have a problem with that whole right there. But it seems to be that most police officers, feel that if they have to draw that weapon, they're shooting to kill. And this
well, I think that's
shooting
wrong.
to wound just isn't practical in all situations.
To me, that doesn't make sense. If you would have shot Michael Brown in the leg, the guy's going to be in a lot of fucking pain and maybe going to shock. Okay, then it gives you at least 30 seconds to where you can see, and if this kid starts to pull out a gun, then you shoot him again. But until that happens, a policeman ought to be trained. To me, that just blows my mind.
Well,
I don't think it's right at all.
It's like when you're a lifeguard, Marty. When you're a lifeguard, they teach whenever you're saving a victim, if there's a threat, you put the victim between yourself and the threat, because if you drown too with the victim, there's no one to save the victim. So it kind of comes down to if you do not kill the person that you pull the gun on and you have thought through everything in your brain, the only way to get rid of this threat is to kill it. You shoot to kill. Like you said, it's just impractical, to shoot to wound because he still may be a threat to yourself and those around him.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like I say. To me, the big line here is, if you see a gun, then shoot to kill. But if up until a point no other weapon or threat to you is seen, you shouldn't. You just shouldn't. I don't care if that's what they train them. It's a wrong way to train somebody. And I don't think
and that's the worst part of this whole situation. A kid was shot 6 times over a box.
Hello?
Well, Marty, just like clockwork, give me just a hot second.
He dropped out.
Every fucking night we do this at 9:46. Vic Nasty disappears on us, and tonight he was in the middle of actually saying.
You know what I'm afraid of now?
What's that?
Maybe there was a cop outside of Vic Nasty's house, and he thought he was threatening him, and now he killed him.
I hope
this
the guy
might be
Vic
the
Nasty's
end.
not shot dead.
This may be the end of Vic Nasty. Maybe there's going to be some burnings in Creve Coeur tonight.
They didn't get you, did they, Vic?
Oh.
Hey, they almost did, Perm. I'm sitting with my back against the door now.
He's alive. Well, anyway, I just wanted to touch on that. Maybe you can talk to Justin about it, but if that's the way cops are taught, then that is really fucked up in my opinion, because I don't care what anybody says. You shoot somebody in the leg, they're not going to have very good aim. You will be able to control the circumstance. It's common sense.
As I read through this article here that I found on the PFOA's website, it says that the officers, they're now taught to shoot and assess, to judge the effect of their shots as they continue to fire as an ongoing process. So, they're taught to shoot and assess a couple of rounds. 20 years ago, they were taught to shoot 1 or 2 rounds and then stop. But, now what they're taught is shoot and assess. So they're firing, but they're assessing at the same time they keep firing. So it almost sounds like a basically shoot to kill.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they're going along those lines, that when if you think you're being threatened, well then, okay, then a cop can fucking kill anybody. If I get into an argument and say, hey, you know what, fuck you, and then they can shoot me and say, well, the guy was being abusive and he put his hand in his pocket. He could have had a gun in there.
Chances are, Marty, it's 100%. If a cop pulls his gun and he's going to shoot you, he's shooting to kill. Period. There's no other way
that's
about
fucked up. I hear what you're saying, but I think it's fucked up. I think it's a stupid precedent to set to let this guy go. And like I say, well then, so is it okay? Like I say, if I've stolen a 6-pack of beer, a cop, I'm running from a cop, I kick him in the balls, continue to run, then I turn around, drop the 6-pack, and my hands go into my pocket, so he can kill me.
Well, Marty, do you want to take a chance of kicking a cop in the balls and taking a chance if he's going to pull his gun or not and kill you?
No, I'm using that just as like a scenario. It's kind of a mirror as to what this kid did.
Exactly. If you attack a cop, chances are it's a good possibility he might pull a gun and kill your ass if you attack a cop.
Then he should have charges filed against him. Because what a cop should do is take you down and arrest you. You don't deserve to be killed for attacking a cop. It's fucked up. You shouldn't do it. But there's a lot of things you shouldn't do. And a cop isn't the judge and jury. It just they can't walk around. I mean, I don't want this to turn into a fucking police state, to where he thought he was in danger, so of course he can kill this guy. And you don't want to. But that seems to be where we're at. I mean,
it's the officer's word against yours, and 99.9% of the time, even if the officer's wrong or straight up lying, their word's believed over ours, and I think that's the big problem.
Well, and that's where I just see. It kind of just shows how angry this guy was that he shot the kid 6 times. I mean, again, like once is enough. And it just shows his frame of mind at the time.
It does, and then that's the unfortunate thing is, when you're put into those situations, even with the best of training, some people, I don't know, just like forget their training or just freak out. And that could have possibly have been what happened here is just he kind of lost it and freaked out, and you have a very unfortunate situation. And now, we've got the whole country.
Here's I guess the whole point too. That what I'm trying to say is that like now everything's being talked about to Al Sharpton, to this, to that, to everything. No, what it all boils down to is there were no charges filed against this guy. Yeah, everybody freaks out. Shit happens. But if you do something wrong, especially if you're a police officer, and I don't care. I got to look into this because I just cannot believe that they're trained to kill somebody without seeing a gun pulled or some threat to them. This kid was far enough away to where...
what you would think.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I see the focus of this conversation should continue. Not about, it was horrible that the town got burned to the ground. I don't agree with that. I think the people that did it are fucking assholes. But it all stemmed from that incident, and things are slowly moving away from that.
Well, and now you've got so many different what I call outside agitators, different groups from both ends of the spectrum, that have moved in, and a lot of these protesters and rioters, and I'm not saying this the word useful idiot comes to mind, and I don't mean them as just idiots, as dumb people, but they're being used. They're useful, and they're being used for somebody else's agenda, and so these different groups, from the Klan to Al Sharpton, to Anonymous, these outside influences are stoking the fires and feeding these people's minds with their agenda and their thoughts and getting them all jazzed, and they've got them out there creating chaos, and in turn, those outside groups are using this, as a means to further their agenda.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
I mean, to me, that's where, and eventually you'd have to close the book on it, but to me, that's where the conversation should always go back to what happened to cause all of this shit. And really look at that situation and look at the fact that if police officers are trained that when they pull their gun, they need to kill somebody. They need to look at that and see maybe other training needs to be put in place here. Maybe there ought to be certain levels of.
That's been one topic of conversation is the police training, and then also police officers being required to wear body cameras. And I think for
sure they should be able to do that. I mean, if this guy had a camera on him, well, the whole hands, would he have his hands up or did he not? That would
It would have been a whole different story.
And the whole thing, it's sad what happened. But my personal thing is, I think the cop was in the wrong, and he should have been charged. Everybody.
I was going to say, that was my initial reaction, too, was that the cop didn't have to shoot him so many goddamn times.
No, he didn't.
But until you're put in that situation, you never know.
No, you don't, and everyone's going to flip out. But my thing is, you need to be held accountable for what you do.
And cops should be held to a higher standard.
They should. And I didn't like it, too. I know he had to resign, but I didn't like it when he came out and gave these interviews pretty much unapologetic about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, he in some cases he almost came off as being flip. And again, who knows if that's just the way he was reacting to things. But, your actions got a town burned down and a kid killed.
Yeah, no shit.
So that's a lot of shit to have on you.
And spawned riots, or spawned protests across the country.
I will have to say it wasn't just that. It's a couple hundred years of bullshit from everyone, not just any one color or anything like that. Whenever there's, dynamite and you just light a spark, things blow up, and that was a spark to make things blow up in the area.
Yeah, but he's the guy that lit that spark. So, he's accountable for that. And especially when I saw him being interviewed by George Stephanopoulos, he was pretty glib about the whole thing. It's just like, man, it's like he didn't really it wasn't too apologetic about anything.
No, I would think that, even though, he felt that he was justified in doing what he was doing, I would think that there'd be a sense of remorse for just having taken another human life.
That's a huge one.
I mean, it almost appeared as if, what he had shot and killed was, a stray dog or, a deer that he had hit on the road and was still alive and kicking. So, I mean, just something rather insignificant versus a human freaking life. And I think that's another big thing that people are freaking out about is just, it was a human life that he took, and just appears to be
a young kid. And people, I love the argument, well, he held up a convenience store. Well, he stole a box of cigars. And how old was the kid? Was he 18?
Yeah, 18, I believe.
Okay, when I was 18, I was a walking just troublemaker. I mean, I was stealing shit. I was breaking all kinds of laws. I didn't deserve to die. But people use that, well, he broke into a convenience store and he hit a cop. What do you expect when that kind of stuff happens? Well, I expect that at the worst case scenario, like I said before, you go to jail for maybe a couple months and you think about the shit you did. You don't die, and cops shouldn't be the judge and jury. They ought to be the ones to bring them into the courthouse and then let justice happen.
Well, Marty, on that note, we'll see how things unfold in Ferguson.
I can't wait to hear what Justin has to say. What's that?
I said we just got a couple minutes left here. What's new over at Meanwhile back in Peoria?
Hey, instead of really talking about that, I didn't know your guys' website went live. It looks great.
Oh, yeah,
thanks,
Marty, thanks, man.
Yeah, no, it looks really cool. Thanks for giving me my own little section. I'll put up a plug on Meanwhile back in Peoria this week for you guys.
Right on. That'd be appreciated.
Job.
Oh, happy to do it. No, I didn't know until I was listening to the show tonight. I just looked at it. It's like, who designed it? Did you guys design it?
I did, yeah.
There.
It looks great. You did a really good job with it. I love that photo on the homepage.
Well, and there's going to be a lot of changes. It's definitely a work in progress, and that homepage is going to change, once folks get a chance to see what's on there. And we'll change the look, and we'll bring some more stuff, and I'm excited about it, man. I'm having a blast doing it.
It's really cool. Oh, you did a great job. I was looking at it while I was listening to the show. I'm like, Jesus, this is great. So, yeah, I'll if not tomorrow,
I use Squarespace thanks to you.
Oh, you did use Squarespace. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yes, sir, and it's really, really easy, man. It's just
it is.
When,
it's so simple.
It's time-consuming when you load your content, you know.
It is. No, but I always say it's so simple. Even I can do it. Hey, well, listen, we didn't
Marty,
get to the Craig Moore. Yeah, I didn't get to the Craig Moore Yardbird story. We'll do that next week.
That sounds awesome, man. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us tonight. We've had a ball, man, and we'll talk to you later in the week.
Okay, we'll see you guys.
Be good,
later on, bud.
See ya. Bye.